Hey everyone, welcome to this video. So in this quick one, I actually want to go a little bit more details on blackjack rules and exactly how does it work, and just to explain it a little bit. I'm sure a lot of you guys already know this stuff, but in case if it's a bit unclear, I just want to explain it because I have an assignment for you. I want you to actually try to build this by yourself without actually any help. So what I really want you to do is to try to use as much as power you can to just try to figure this out. Just put the pieces together without any help, because when it comes to programming, the best way to become a really good programmer is to really just try to think for yourself. So in this case, I'm not providing any files, at least not right now, or anything like that. So I just want to explain the rules and just have you build it. All right, so let's actually go ahead and talk about this a little bit. So the blackjack or the 21 game, whatever you might want to call it, is essentially a game that you or any player is either have to reach the closest to 21 without going over, and the player who has the highest number usually wins. All right, so here's how it works. So again, the idea is to reach the largest number without going over 21. So 21 is the best number you can get. Closer to that is better, the higher chance to win. And also, over 21, you just completely lose. All right. So the thing is that if the card is over 21, it's essentially a bust. This means that you actually ended up losing, right? So it's a bust. And all the cards from 2 to 10 are counted as their face value. So the way this works is that, like, I'm sure you've seen a deck of cards. Every number that you see from 2 to 10 are what they are. Just like that's the face value, 9, 8, 6, 5, whatever. That's how they're counted, right? And then there are some special cards such as Jack, Queen, and King, and these are all each worth 10. So again, we got the face value cards, which are like 2 to 10, the numbers, right? And then we got the Jack, Queen, and King, which are each 10. So these are essentially the cards that are 10. They're worth 10 each. And then you got Ace, which can be counted either as 1 or 11, and that is up to player and your hand, really. All right, so however you want to count it. For example, if you get an Ace and you ended up getting a 10, right, or a Jack, for example, you can count it as 20, and that would be a really good hand, right? So that would be your hand essentially. So again, that's how you want to count it. Or for example, if you get a Queen and then an Ace, that would be again the same thing. That would be 20, right? So that is really up to you, however you want to count it. For example, if you get a Jack and then an Ace, and then you ended up playing, if you want to really play it risky and you really want to hit the 21 and you ended up getting a 5, for example, you would be the way you would count this is 10 plus 5 and plus the Ace, which would be 1 in that case. So again, that would be 1 or 11 depending on the player hand, right? So it essentially works in your favor. So it could be either 10 or 11 or actually a 1. So that's the thing that you want to keep in mind. So anyways, so that's how an Ace works. So these are 3 elements essentially. The cards from 2 to 10, their face value, and then Jack, Queen, and King are each 10, and then Ace is either 1 or 11. And again, so for example, if you get a Jack and then an Ace, that would be a 21. That just like the outright you win. All right. So anyways, these are the values of these cards. So the way we're going to count this, let's do a practice real quick so I can demonstrate this. So let's say this is my hand on the bottom, right? And this is the dealer's. So we got an Ace. That's a good start, right? And then the dealer got a 6. So again, this is a 6. All right. So next, the dealer is going to give me a 6. So that would be 10 plus 6. It's going to be 16. Now, the way the blackjack works is that you're not going to see the dealer's hand. So like when they get a card, they're essentially going to not show the card obviously. So that's how it works. And then, so we get an 11 plus 6 plus 5, that's going to be 22, right? That would be a bust, but because I have an ace, I can actually change this value to 1. So this would be either 1 or 11, right? So again, this would be 1 plus 6 plus 5, so that would be a 12 instead of 22 in this case. So again, this is how it works, right? So again, just want to remind you of the rules. Anyone who reaches 21 first wins. If anyone goes over 21, they automatically lose. If the dealer has now this is another rule that I did not mention. If the dealer has a hand less than 17, so it's going to be like 16 or lower, they actually must grab another card. So like that is another rule. So that would be the computer side of things, so dealer side of things, right? So that's basically how you want to remember that. So here's how we're going to build our game. So we're going to keep our game really, really simple, because again, you can make this really complicated. For example, you can get into probability and things like that, but I don't want to make that complicated. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna have a list, obviously, with a deck of cards, and we're gonna have our cards here, which are gonna be 11. That's the ace. And the way I'm gonna count the ace is that it's 11 unless the player goes over 21. So if the player's over 21 and we have an 11, we're going to change that to 1. So that way, you're not going to lose automatically. So that's like how we're going to solve the ace. And then we're going to have an infinite deck. So, usually a real casino has a deck of 5 or 6 cards that they mix up. But in this case, we're going to actually have an infinite deck because, as I say, I don't want to get into like probability and all that stuff, because if you really want to have like 5 or 6 deck of cards, that could make it really complicated. So I definitely don't want to get into that stuff. We're just going to keep it a little bit light. And then another thing is that numbers 2 to 10 are on the list. 3 extra 10s for the jack. So again, we got ace here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So these are the numbers, the face value numbers. And then we got 3 other 10s. So there you go. So then this one, this one, this one, these are jack, queen, and king essentially. All right. So these are basically our cards. And again, as I said, we have an infinite deck of cards. So that way, we're just going to keep it really simple. So this is going to be our game, and this is how we're going to build it. So what I want you guys to do is try to figure this out and try to build it by yourself. All right, because next step in the next video, we're essentially going to start building this, right? But I want you to really try to think about this. I want you to try to try to really solve this problem by yourself. Think about how you can do this. Okay, now think about it this way. Again, we have a list, so that's how you start. The computer needs to pick a random card from this, right? And the computer needs to show the first card or first number that they picked, and they need to continue picking the numbers, but obviously they need to they need to not show those numbers. Just save it up, but don't show it. But then again, you want to ask for player input, right? So you want to get them to pick another card. So for example, you say, hey, do you want to pick another card? Yes. And then you're going to choose a card randomly for them from this deck. So again, it's really not that hard. You're going to use the random module. You're going to use, if and else and all elif and stuff like that. And, again, it's really not that hard if you think about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this, in the resource section, this PDF file. So try to look at it by yourself. Try to see if you can actually create this program without my help. So the way you do this is that you want to go to your PyCharm. So let's actually go ahead and do this. In the PyCharm, you want to create a new project. I'm going to actually do that right now. So I'm just going to call this project Blackjack Game. There you go. And you don't need to change anything else really here. So make sure you have the main Py welcome script, and everything else is just fine. So we're just gonna leave this at what it is. And location, you can change the location if you want, but again, really doesn't matter honestly. So I'm just gonna create, and just like that, and we're going to say new window. All right, so there you go. So just like that, I got my file and ready to go. All right, so this is how we're going to do this, and this is how and where we're going to build our project. So guys, get started on this. Try to figure this out by yourself. Try to really think about this and build as much as you can before you watch me do it in the next lesson. But yeah, try to again solve this problem by yourself, because that's how you become a good programmer. So thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Again, download the resources and download the PDF file. It's in the resource section, and I'll see you in the next lesson.